How's everybody today? Pete here at Spawn Fly Fish, ready to have some fun on the vise with you all. But it's getting hot outside, the water's getting hot. Maybe it's time to switch off the trout for a little while and start thinking about bass. So let's tie something for the bass today. Grab your vise, grab your tools, let's have some fun. Let's get started on this bass fly today. In the vise, we are going to start with a shank. This is a Spawn articulated shank, size 18 millimeter. Got some 6/0 white thread, and just going to get this started. I'm going to wrap a little thread base down this entire shank here. And if you remember, one of our recent videos used a Polliwog tail, but for a trout fly, and the idea being this Polliwog tail gets saturated and is just going to kick back and forth and drive these trout nuts. Well, same thing in the bass world. You want something that pushes a little bit more water. And then in the back, again, the key is having something with a lot of movement or tail kick. And so that's what we're going to do. We're going to tie a very simple fly today that doesn't look simple and it doesn't fish like a simple fly. However, if you don't tell, I won't tell. This one's pretty easy and very quick. And as far as tying something up last minute, this one's a good one. And we're just going to keep everything, again, real simple. And we're going to tie this in white. But by all means, where you're at, you should have an idea of what your bass are into. Please change that color to what you know works in your waters. All right, so now I told you we're going to go simple, so we're going to base this off of a chenille mentality, if you will. So we've got some Chocklett Finesse body chenille. This is the extra large in clear, and I've already got a little spot trimmed out there on that chenille. Just get a little cleaner tie in and get that tied in like so. Since this is such a simple, quick little fly to tie, of course we need to add a little bit of sweetness to it, if you will. So let's go ahead and do that. I've got some crazy legs. Crazy. These are white with silver flake. Super cool. I'm a huge fan. So all we're going to do now is treat this like a leggy boy, so to speak. So we're just going to come in here, veil over the thread 2 legs, bring it up on top of the shank, nothing to it. So we're going to take 2 legs onto your side, and I want these to be roughly in the middle of the shank. So about like there is pretty good. And then I'll bring these over to my side. And those are right where I want them. Make sure they're tied down very well and bring that thread up. Now, if these legs are in your way, here's how we get out of that issue. Just going to take 1 thread wrap right over those bad boys. It's not in my way anymore. Let's get back to the chenille. We're going to see how this comes off one side. So keep that in mind. We want that. Of course, treat it like it's a cross-cut section of rabbit or whatever. We want all that goodness flowing off the back over the hook point. So at there, you see I've got about 3 wraps of body material. Come up to the legs, undo that thread wrap, and then the next wrap is right in front of the legs. Woo! That's good looking already, and yet so simple, right? Not having to really reinvent the wheel. We're just gonna use chenille that has some longer fiber, and we're going to make a bug that just smacks on the bass. And a lot of you, maybe you don't like largemouth fishing, or maybe you love it. Maybe you have access to smallmouth, maybe you don't. So this is one of those. Again, you have to adapt to what you are trying to do. I'm probably going to go chase a lot of largemouth with this. Our lakes are just full of largemouth. It's hot in the rivers right now. The water's low, so unless you're getting into some tidal water, this might be a fun little excursion and a good excuse for you to still fish. Let me cut these legs here so that they line up at the end of that tail. Call that good. And time for a whip finish. So we've already got a third of this fly done. nothing to it. And this is a wash, rinse, repeat sort of fly, meaning we're going to repeat these steps as we move forward, and we will end up again with a streamer that looks, I dare say, sexy, but is pretty simple to tie. Get that thread cut out, and time for a little head cement on these thread wraps. Nothing crazy here, a little dabble do ya. Just want to make sure you get a nice coat of cement on all those thread wraps, especially where that whip finish knot is. And I'm going to call that good. Ta-da. If these legs stick together, looks like these guys stuck together. It's not a big deal. Just separate them like so. Ta-da. All right. Section 1 finished. So let's get into section 2. So we started on an 18mm shank, and here we go. This is really tough. We're going 19mm shank. Done. Pop this guy out, replace, and put him back in. And just like so. And just gonna snug that up. And this is about the time, if you have some wire hanging around, let me pop this open, sorry for this noise. I'm gonna get in here some weighted wire. I'm just gonna pull off a little piece, maybe 6-8 inches, whatever, and then I can always come on top of this tail even and just wrap a couple times. Everything's out of my way. It's really more important when you have a trailing hook, I think, or stinger style hook, because of course you can jab yourself pretty good, especially if you get some steam built up and you're moving quickly. We won't have that issue today since there's no trailer hook, but it is an easy way to get everything out of your way. So now, working on getting this arm closed down, just adding a little extra pressure with my offhand there, and really want this solidly tied in. I don't like that it's non-parallel for you guys, so I'll do my best to keep that parallel on the camera. There we go. Tied down, and where's our chenille? Let's get back into it. Just, you see here that little spot in front. I'm just going to trim out a few of those fibers, give myself just a cleaner tie-in spot. That's all we need. And tie it right in again, all the way back, and like so. Come through one more time, really make sure it's tied in strongly. And now, time for the legs, yet again. So this, if you're looking at this and you're like, man, it's a pretty boring fly, it's all one color. Again, I'm just showing you the chassis or the template, whatever you want to call it, that you build from. So again, if you like olive for bass where you live, well, they sell chenille and olive. By all means, tie this in olive. Black works very well. White works really well. Works for other species, but again, we're thinking bass today. It's pretty hot outside, and I thought this would be a fun one. So one more time, let's just bring those legs forward, one over the top. They're out of the way, they're not going to move for us. And again, making sure that all those fibers train toward the back, out over the hook point. We got one leg that's slipping, but we've only got a couple more wraps to get here, so I'm not going to stress on that guy. I'll just diligently move him out of the way each time. Undo my thread now. Make sure, this is important, that proper leg is on the proper side. That's all that matters. Now all the legs come back, and we continue wrapping this in front of these legs. I don't know how you could get yourself into trouble on this fly, aside from maybe moving too quickly and you miss a set of legs on one of the shanks or something. Is it the end of the world? Nope. Should you undo everything and retie that fly? Boy, that's a very subjective idea. If it's me, I'm going to finish the fly, put it in my personal box, and not worry about it. It'll still catch fish like like nobody's business. There's nothing wrong with it. Just maybe call it a variant. There we go. One more time, we're going to come in with our whip finish. I do have a little water here, so I'm just going to barely get my fingertips wet and coax some of those fibers back out of the way. And whip finish time. There's our first one. And of course, let's add another whip finish. Yahtzee. Done. Cut that thread out and a little cement. 2/3 of the way done already, folks. And just gonna coat again once around all these thread wraps. Nothing to it. A little bit in the eye there. Got rid of that. We're good to go. So if you look, got a lot of leg movement here already. Got a decent sized body that's just not going to all collapse when it gets wet. You see, we're building this for a big old bass attack. And I want these legs to come back, 5, 6, 7/8 of the way back on that first set of legs. It's just ever so slightly shorter. Nothing too difficult. And now let's undo our weighted wire wraps that are holding that tail down for us. And we're going to get a little goofy here for a second. So I'm just going to use my whip finish tool and come up through the eye, release, and get this out of here for now and set to the side. And now let's come in with our workhorse of a hook today. See that? That's a beefy hook. So today we are playing with the SA280 size 1/0. This is a mamma jamma. This is the real deal big hook. Let me get a thread base on this guy. And you can see we are not playing in the trout world anymore, folks. This is a big hook. This would be great for salmon, bigger fish, by all means. But again, I've got bass on the brain. I don't know about you guys, but I sure do. So now, if there's a tricky part to this fly, I guess it's going to be upcoming here. First thing I want to do, and this is really fun. I've been waiting for a while to use these guys. I just couldn't help myself. This is the Dumbbell eye in Tungsten from Montana Fly Company. And specifically, this is red with a sparkle white pupil. Look at that. Is that not gorgeous? I guess the pupil's black, but the eye itself is sparkle white. And so we're going to tie this on the top of that shank, which will, of course, invert our hook point. And so one thing I do want to mention is don't crowd yourself too close to the hook eye with this. Stay back a little bit further than you would typically tie in a dumbbell. Couple reasons. We want to get a couple wraps of material in front of this, and also it's a short shank hook, so it's not a real long hook, so there's not quite as much room as you might think. So if that's where I'm happy with this, and I know of course it's going to sit this way, but let's call that good for placement, and let's get this rocking. I do have a little bit of super glue. I'm just going to barely touch a little bit on both sides, front and back. And then as I wrap this, that'll soak through those thread wraps. And this bad boy is going nowhere. So again, some figure 8s and all that good stuff. And then we're going to get in here with the space filler and really eat up some room. And then we're back to behind and front, figure 8. A lot of wraps that go on to this, but all in the name of making sure that these eyes don't budge. These things move and it changes everything about that fly. And it won't be long before they're just gone. You're just missing it, and now you've got a problem. Namely, you got to cut that thing off and retie something else on. We don't want that, so let's make sure those things are just really strongly tied in. All right, enough of that good stuff. Now let's get to the connection, and for this I've got another 19mm shank from Spawn. But as you can see, I've removed the eye. And I've got the arm open here. So I'm going to do a quick measure. I want where that eye begins to drop down to sit right against the end of that thread. So you can see I've got to get rid of like 1/16 of an inch on that shank, and I do have a little cutter here. Cut that and see how we did. That's good right there. Just make sure it stays in the center of the hook shank here for a second, and we can really tie that portion down there of the articulated shank. And now back to our first little section here. So this is how it sat in the vise, but this portion as it sits right now is upside down. So I'll do the same with the rear two sections or shanks. So now everything's lined up, and it doesn't matter for this back portion today because it's all tied in the round. So it wouldn't have affected anything, but eventually you will tie something that requires you to, keep in mind what is top, what is bottom. And so that is strictly to get you into that habit of just kind of being aware, keeping track of it. And now, of course, we will tie the rest of that arm down. Going to make a couple passes over this arm. I don't want anything moving. I want everything very stable, very strong. And there we go. Not going anywhere now. All right. One more time, we will trim out a little clean tie-in for our Finesse Chenille. And again, this is the extra large, but there are a few sizes. So by all means, yes, you can make this smaller, use it for trout, panfish, whatever you want. And all the way up to this extra large size, which as you can see, bulks up a fly pretty quickly. All right. So as far as the legs on this section, we're just going to get them right behind the eyes and kind of keep it as close to the middle of the shank still as possible. And there we go. I'll bring two to your side. And again, I want them coming out of the side, not off the top, not off the bottom, just out of the side, like so. Good. And do the same on my side. And call that good. Now let's just go ahead and get that thread up front. And one more time with these legs, the little thread trap here in the front, and all four come up at one time. And you see the beauty of this is using all clear chenille and white legs for right now. It really gives you a blank slate. And so it's not too difficult to conceptualize, well, what if I just change the color of the legs? Oh yeah, now you've got a different fly. Well, what if I came in with a marker right on top of some of this chenille? Yep, change the entire look of that fly. There's no excuse to not make this work for your water. And if, this is again, to me, the fun part of tying flies. You can go out there, you start to learn a little bit, and you go, oh, I think I'd have caught more fish yesterday if I had a fly in this color. Well, there's nothing stopping you. You get to find out. Tie it up. Find out. Fish it. And let's do a little move there. Just right over the top of those eyes. And we're going to finish it right here with one final wrap. So you see how those eyes still show through. That bright red really stands out. Now you do need a little bit of imagination, and now picture this sucker wet. It's going to collapse all the way down onto the sides there, and those eyes will absolutely pop off and really get the fish's attention. But we're not just going to call this good, right? We need a little something extra. Or at least I think we do. All right, one more time. Let's trim this last set of legs here. And again, we just want them coming, 7/8, whatever, back on the previous set. And I love that little layered effect and layered look of these legs when it moves through the water. So I can tell you this, the fish seem to love it. So I'm not going to argue with these fish. I'm just going to tie what works and throw it to them over and over and over. Let me trim some of these fibers out. We don't really need to be so picky, but we're here. Let's go ahead and handle our business. Make the cleanest flies we can, at least the prettiest. I like that idea. There we go. All right. One final move. We're going to give this guy collar. And sticking with the idea of that red in there, I've got 2 feathers, both Marabou, both spay Marabou to be exact, white and red. I've peeled off the leading edge of both feathers, and now I'm going to stack them together. I will put the red on top of the white. It probably doesn't matter too much. It just makes me happy. That's why I'm doing it. And we've got 1 fiber to cut. That's it. So these do have a trimmed out tie-in in space and all that good stuff. Key here is peeling that leading edge because I don't want full-on red coming through here. I want a highlight. I don't want a main story, and this is just the highlight. And so by mixing it with the white, it of course just math decreases the potency, if you will, automatically by half. And you know, sometimes that's not the answer, sometimes it is the answer. For this style of fly, this has been the way for me. It works the best, so that's what we're going to tie. So just going to wrap both of them together now. Just a little bit of tangle there on these, that's all right, we'll make do. There's 1 wrap. I'm going to say maybe 2 wraps is all we're going to need. And again, if this was all red solid, like, it'd be too much. I wouldn't like it. I don't know if the fish would hate it or if they'd be all right with it, but I can tell you, for whatever reason, this sort of combo versus a straight color, it really seems to work. Maybe it's the way I fish. I don't know what it is, but I'm just showing you what works for me, and then you customize and make it work for you. And if this isn't it, well, change the color, change the feather. It's all gravy. It's all going to work. Just pull that back, get a couple solid thread wraps in the front there, and we can trim out these feather quills. Nothing to it, but look at this bad boy. So now, again, it's going to take a little imagination because that eye is going to want to get lost in all this fluff, right? But there you have it. This thing's going to move through the water like an intruder, just trying to get into that house of that bass. And the bass did not invite this person or this intruder or whatever you want to term it. And so they're going to do what they have to do to get rid of this nuisance, and namely, so they're just going to eat it. That's what we're looking for. And want them to eat it. And 2 whip finishes, call that done. Cut that thread out, and we are ready for our last application of some head cement. I am going to dip my fingers once again into the little water I've got here, and just enough to tease that little peeking out of the eyeball there in the dumbbell. And you see this thing is going to slick back. It's going to have more of a large minnow profile, but it's not going to collapse completely, and that is a big factor. So now you have that substantial body profile. You've got the coloration that's just going to pop off against any background, and then you got that little bit of red. Like, good luck not eating this thing. If you're a fish, you know what the deal is. You're going for it. And there we have it, folks. Just a nasty, nasty bug catching machine, and very quick, very simple to tie in whatever combination you think works best for where you're fishing. That's all there is to it. Doesn't have to be crazy to look good, and I think this one looks pretty darn good. So I hope you guys enjoyed. I always have fun with you here tying some flies. So if you do me a favor though, go ahead and hit that like button, hit that subscribe button. We will see you all on the water.